For this basic intro into lighting, we don't even need Max open. Let's just go to the exercise files folder and open up chapter 12. We'll see two images here, werewolf boring lighting and werewolf lit well. Now I know that there are probably more than a few of you out there that are very skeptical about why you need to learn lighting. Well, let me make a believer out of you. Many newcomers to the world of 3D often overlook lighting as one of the most powerful tools in creating a believable scene. But if you were to ask most 3D artists out there the two most important things, they probably would say materials and lighting. And maybe not even in that order. Let me show you briefly here the difference lights can make. I'm first going to open up werewolf boring lighting. This should look pretty familiar to you. This is the werewolf we used previously when we were talking about rigging. Again, thanks to David Gibbons, my lead animator at Wedgecase Animation, for providing this for us. But this is the werewolf with basic lighting. There are no shadows, no highlights, nothing really exciting to speak of in the way of lighting. I can see every piece of this equally. Now, there is a little bit of faking here with some shadows and some highlights, but that's painted into the material, not part of lighting. And truth be told, this is actually a pretty good trick if you're working on a video game character and you want to have lighting on the character in certain areas, but you can't get the game engine to render the lighting model that quickly. You could bake the lighting information into the character so that it always has that lighting information as part of the material. But with all the lighting, we see all the imperfections. This is a low poly model meant for gaming. And with the lights at full blast here, it's kind of unforgiving. We can see points like this that really don't belong. We can also see where there's some stretching in the materials. And basically every other little tiny flaw about this character. Now we're going to look at the same exact scene. The same max file, the same mesh, the same materials applied to it. Everything is the exact same except for the lighting. I'm going to close boring lighting and open up werewolf lit well. Oh, hey, look at that. Man, I love lighting. Whereas before, when this thing was lit up like a Christmas tree, we could see all that stretching on those paws there. And instead here, we're just seeing subtle highlights along the edges of those claws. Much more menacing and mean. Also, the light has a blue tint, as if this werewolf is out late at night hunting by the light of the moon. I also put a red light here next to his eye to bring out that mean glare in his eye. I put another light under his mouth to kind of give it that scary campfire thing when you put your flashlight under your mouth, when you're a kid. Always does a great job in making things look a little bit creepier. Also makes his teeth look a little bit more menacing because they're lit up. And so we could use lighting like this to put emphasis where we want that. I'm going to hit the right arrow key while we're in the Windows Picture and Fax Viewer here to go back to my other image. Wow, what a difference. This looks like a low poly character, but as we change the lighting, what a difference. And not only that, going back to the original again, there's no emphasis here. Should we look at his face? Should we be scared of his claws? Is this some kind of werewolf-scorpion hybrid? Maybe he has a scary tail back here that we should be aware of? Who knows? But when we light this properly, we could put the emphasis where we want it. And in this one, I chose to light up his teeth a little bit and his eye. It's almost as if to say, I'm focused on you, and I have the teeth to chew you up and destroy you. Again, I remind you here, the only difference is the lighting. I didn't change the rendering engine or anything else about the file, only the lighting. But lights don't only make images look better, they also can help us tell a story. The angle of our lights, for example, and where they're placed can also aid in our storytelling. Let's say, for example, we have a light coming from up above somebody. If it was coming from straight up above them, it might appear to be heavenly, putting our character in perhaps an innocent light. If we stuck a light under a character's chin, for example, that old campfire trick that we just talked about, a character might appear a little bit more menacing and mean. The intensity of the light also makes a difference. This character looks a lot more creepy and evil because we can't really see all of him. If we had massive highlights that were blown out so that this looked all ethereal and smooth and angelic, it would definitely take away some of the power of this scene, to say the least. A werewolf entering the pearly gates of heaven because of his good deeds somehow isn't quite as scary. And finally, we could also change the color of our lights to help tell a story as well. Now, this is not the time and the place to talk about the psychology of color, but suffice it to say, color makes a huge difference in the way we as human beings react. There's a reason that stop signs are red. When you think of red, you think of things that are passionate, fiery, warm, intense. Things that are blue are often a little bit more chilled out and relaxed. And so then, if you had a character that was full of rage and was going and destroying a room, you probably wouldn't want the scene to be full of blue light. So this is just a teaser, a warm-up if you will, into what lights have to offer to your scene. Sometimes lights in the real world don't really serve a great purpose. You just turn on the light so you can see where you're going. But as animators, we kind of tell a story. We use lights in a different way. Yes, we use lights to illuminate things so we can see where we're going, all that stuff, yada yada, blah blah blah, whatever. But realistically, the power of lights is to put focus where we want focus and to use colors, angles, and intensity to help us tell our story. Now let's get into Max and actually make some of these lights and see how this works.